are strictly those of the program hosts, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of Beasley Broadcast Group, this station, its staff, other advertisers, or agencies.
You got to tell me, man. You'll be telling me. Here we go. We're going to start the show. Woo! And we are back once again with another installment of the number one rated business show right here on the Real 1100 AM. I'm your host today, Kevin C. Pride. In studio with me, we got Senate candidate Miss Valencia Stovall. How we doing today, Miss Valencia?
Very well. Thank you so very much.
Well, we have a lot of stuff to get into today. Just a couple of announcements to get out of the way real quick. We are still trying to help people pay their bills. So if you are listening, all you have to do is text Pay My Bill to 404-574-5134, and we will pay $100 towards one of your bills. All you have to do is text Pay My Bill to 404-574-5134, and we will pay $100 towards your bill. Just follow all the prompts and make sure that you respond to us, send us what we need to see, and then we'll make sure that we get $100 paid towards your bill. And tonight, and I hope she is listening, and we'll announce her a little bit later again in the program, Miss Jacqueline Edmonds can be looking forward to $100 towards her bill. We did get your information, and we will be sending out $100 towards your bill. And also, I got all my friends starting to jump in, and they want to help us out, and they want to help y'all pay y'all's bills too. So we also, Miss Charlotte Kelly, we did get your text. We did hear from you. I hope you are listening tonight. Miss Charlotte Kelly, sponsored by Rashad Ritchie, the realest man in radio, and I think it's what, Real Talk. I can't promote somebody else's radio show on the Real 1100 AM. But sponsored by Rashad Ritchie, we'll be sending you out $100 as well. So please, once again, if you're a business and you want to sponsor some of these $100 payments to some of our listeners, please get in contact with the show. Let me know, 770-870-8806, and we'll make sure that we can sponsor some of these payments for your business as well. But special thanks to Rashad Ritchie for stepping up and donating $100 to Miss Charlotte Kelly. We're doing our best to try to help people. We realize what's going on as far as the unemployment insurance has run out. Well, Trump said he got it fixed now. I don't know if you've been watching, Ms. Stovall. You say you're running for Senate. Trump said he got it fixed now. He gonna start sending y'all $400, but the number one rated business show wants to step in and send y'all $100 towards your bill. So make sure that you keep listening and keep texting the show so we can help you guys out as much as we possibly can. Join me tomorrow for an interesting conversation. I don't know if you heard this growing up. It used to be a saying, y'all need to go back to Africa. Have you ever heard that saying growing up? It was a racist saying. I ain't trying to be racist or anything, but that is something I heard several times growing up as a young man coming up through the 80s and 90s. So tomorrow we're going to answer this question. Should we go back to Africa? So I'm sitting down with the president of the African American Association for Ghanaians tomorrow, along with some Ghanaians that want to give us some information about what's going on in Africa. Should we go to Ghana? And these are special folks. These people are actually implant or would they be an implant or a transplant? I don't know. I guess they'd be an implant to Africa. Anyway, they're immigrants to Africa, but they are from America. So these are actually Americans that has made that choice to go to Africa, make that move to Africa, and now they're living over in Ghana. So that ought to be a very interesting discussion. Join me tomorrow, Facebook Live at 1 p.m. We'll be going live on Facebook for that discussion. Also on Thursday, ABJ Live will be sitting down with Curtis Lovejoy. He is America's most decorated Paralympic athlete, and he is an Atlantan, all right, which is a wonderful thing. So, also joining me in studio right now, showing up. That's all right. I ain't gonna say nothing about you being late. We ain't gonna put you on blast like that. But Miss Christina Bronner is now in the house with us today.
Hello, hello.
How you doing today?
I'm wonderful.
I am so glad to have you here. I was nervous. I was like, Well, it's supposed to be a conversation about something, and ain't nobody showing up. But that's all right. That's all right.
Well, it's a terrible accident on 7585. So charge it to that, not my heart.
All right, we're gonna charge it to the game. But and also joining me via the phone, calling in tonight, Pastor Melvin Green. Is Pastor Melvin Green on the line with us today?
Yes.
That's Sabrina McKenzie. How we doing, Miss McKenzie?
Hey, how are you?
You been doing all right?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing?
Thank you so much for joining. I'm doing pretty good. I don't know. I'm a little turned up today.
I hear it.
But thank you so much for joining us. You are now live with Miss Valencia Stovall, United States candidate for the Senate. And then we also got Miss Christina Bronner. Now, what I asked you to be a part of the conversation tonight was what we want to talk about is church in the new age. Everybody is starting these online digital churches. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough of us good Christians to get on here to have a discussion about this and talk about what this actually looks like.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Well, first up, tell me your takes on it, because I'm starting to see a big shift to a lot of people being online and having church services via Facebook and via the website and this type of stuff. And because of everything that's going on with COVID, is this the new normal? Is this what we should be used to now for church services? Or do you think we actually at some point get a chance to actually go back and be a part of that fellowship?
Are you addressing that to me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that church as we know it is shifted. It's changed. And I don't know if we'll ever totally go back to the norm. And that's the thing. You know, if it changes, a good thing. Even if church opens back up, which I'm sure at some point will open, there are going to be so many stipulations and regulations as it relates to being 6 feet apart, using mics, how close you can be. Definitely, you know, past the piece is going to be different because people are not going to be going around hugging. So church as we know it is different, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. And to your first question, as it relates to having online church, it's actually a necessity because church is different, because we don't know when we're going to get into the building and what the regulations and stipulations will be. You know, many of the pastors want to continue to have fellowship with their members and provide spiritual guidance. And so the only way to really do that is either the telephone or via the internet. So pastors have been trying and working very hard to continue to provide some type of guidance, as well as make it be a normal experience as well, you know, as much as possible, given the fact that we cannot go into church and have church as usual.
Okay. And I think also now we have Pastor Melvin Green on the line with us. Pastor Melvin, are you there?
I'm here, Captain Pride, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your wonderful, wonderful show.
Thank you. Now give us your take on it, because you're doing the online services and you've been trying to build this online community. Tell us your take on the new digital church that we're seeing emerge.
Well, you know, when you think about society in a whole, and you look at each industrial revolution that we've had in the history of our society. We had a industrial revolution with the steam engine. We had an industrial revolution with electricity. We also had the industrial revolution with technology. And now we're moving into the industrial revolution of artificial intelligence. So when the scripture says that God is doing a new thing, God is doing something new that is causing not just the church to shift into a new paradigm, but God is bringing a global reformation that's shifting every landscape of our society, whether it be the church, government, commerce. And so this is a new normal that we have to accept new normal that we have to move into, because with technology in the age of artificial intelligence, we can reach more people. I could be right here in my home, and I can reach people in London. I can reach people in Africa. So it's definitely given us a broader, increased scope to be able to reach more people, and even bringing it back into filling the Great Commission.
Let me get Miss Bronner in on this conversation. How you doing today, Miss Christina Bronner?
I am wonderful. Hello, Mr. Melvin and Miss Sabrina. How are you?
Hey, how you
Good,
doing?
good. How you doing?
I am wonderful.
So let me get your take on it. The new digital version of church that we're seeing, because like more and more, I even when you're starting to see congregations, I think I watched TD Jakes this past Sunday, and the whole congregation was completely empty. He's preaching to a empty church. So do you think this is the new normal that we should get used to now, or do you think we actually make it back to a actual building and community?
I actually agree with Miss Sabrina that this is our new normal. I think that it's actually been really, really great with the younger generation because they are so digital. They also use social media, look at the internet, so it allows them to participate. For most of those, what you would call heathens that don't normally go, so I have seen it where there are a lot more younger people joining online that didn't necessarily go to church. So I think it's a great thing, a great shift for the younger generation. The older generation, not so much. They're still struggling to get on this online digital world.
Okay.
But I think the world as a whole was moving more digital, just like we order everything from Amazon. We don't even go to the stores anymore. And this was before the pandemic. We were moving to an online world anyway. So I think the COVID has just allowed the churches to speed up and catching up with the rest of the world.
Now, does this, and anybody can jump in here, does this still allow us to be able to financially support our communities the way that we have been? Because I know I know from speaking to a few of my clients that are actually churches, tithes and things are down, and at the end of the day, churches still have to operate like a business. And a lot of people, now that they're not coming and they don't feel that pressure, everybody looking at me, should I put something in the collection plate? Tithes are starting to be down. So how are churches going to be able to operate with a smaller budget and still have that same impact in the community? Let's go to Sabrina first.
Well, as it relates to tithing being down, in the United States, we have over 10 million people who lost their jobs. And so unemployment is skyrocketed. It's up. And if we have unemployment up and people have to choose between giving to the church and paying their rent, then they're probably going to pay their rent. And so, this global pandemic is something that we all are dealing with, not just the genre of the church, but every industry, business, government, religion, entertainment, art, and family. And we're trying to adjust to it. I believe that as the job market increases and people get back to understanding the new normal and getting back with their lives, kids going back to school or doing online school, as the shift takes place and the job market opens up, then I believe that the tithing will also increase.
Okay.
But because we're not having to pay, many of the churches have laid off a lot of their staff. They were heavy in staff. And now that has decreased because they had to do it because they didn't have the finances to pay staff, continue to pay a building, and also pay the pastor. So it's just an adjustment overall. I believe that the church will come out on top. As Christina said, this was a direction that the church was going in anyway. And many of the pastors was just used to the old paradigm and the old way of doing things. And so this COVID has escalated us into the real world. And so I believe we will catch up with the adjustment once the employment rate goes up.
Pastor Melvin, let me get your thoughts. Let me get your thoughts, Pastor Melvin.
Back off what my sister just said. I think in any transition, you got to go through a decline per se, and then for it to balance out. So I think the transition now, what we see is people making that transition in reference to used to being physically in the church where I can physically give my tithe. But now as we balance out, churches are going to have to be more strategic in making sure that when it comes to projects and missions, that we can collect the data, collect the matrix to be able to show people that, hey, when you give your money, this is what we're doing in the community. We're refurbishing homes and making affordable homes for people. You know, we're building schools and things of that sort. So people can definitely see where their money is going. And secondly, and I'll end with this, I think overall, when we balance out and we look at this new normal of being more virtual, there will be less investment in brick and mortar. And even retail is going through that same transition. So as we have less investment financially in brick and mortar, that would free up more money for us to be able to finance ministry, finance missions, and things of that sort that would really make an impact in our world and in our society.
Well, Miss Christina, you said now you're able to reach a much younger audience. Now I see what you've been doing on social media, being a prayer warrior, leading prayers on Thursday mornings, I think, if I caught that right.
That's
but
right.
Do you find that your reach now is starting to expand with a lot younger people, or the older audience just seems like they're not there? Because Facebook, for instance, has a good mix of a little bit of everybody. So who do you really see adapting to this online model?
As far as my prayer, I think I still reach the older people because
Okay.
they say Facebook is for the older people. The younger people begged me to go to Instagram.
Wow.
And I couldn't figure out how to do both.
Wow.
So I do reach an older audience with the Facebook, but I do think as we shift, I'm getting a lot more mix of both. So it's been exciting because I've been doing it for almost 3 years.
Wow.
November will make 3 years that I've been going live every Thursday at 6:30. I have not missed that one Thursday.
All right.
So I do it from the Bahamas, from Jamaica, from wherever I am.
Now, you ain't got to get to bragging about all these trips you taking now.
Well, I just want to make sure. Well, I haven't been doing it anywhere lately because all of the borders are closed. But I had the opportunity to continue to do it. And so the audience has reached younger people, and they'll call crying and, saying that it was a testimony. They love seeing it. But then I also reach the older people who are on Facebook and like it as well.
Now, Pastor Melvin, I see that your ministry is really starting to really come alive on Facebook, and I see that you have a huge audience. You're getting a huge number of shares every time that you're going live and giving these sermons and giving this advice. What does your followers look like? Is that a little bit of an older generation, or is that a younger generation that you're being able to reach through these social media platforms?
I have a mixture of older and younger, but I think with the trend now, a lot of younger people are interested in things of spirituality and scripture and things of the kingdom. So there's a broader reach of younger people. And then as well, one of the big things that I've been able to accomplish by the grace of God with technology is also, having different branches of ministry in Africa. And, I'm able to spiritually lead them because of technology. I don't have to get on the plane and fly. I can go Zoom and do leadership training and things of that sort. And then even there's a broader population of younger people that are being attracted to what God is doing right now.
Now, Sabrina, your ministry is not very traditional, I guess you would say. So you're a little bit of everywhere, and I know you have a huge following on Instagram. I don't think me and you connected on Facebook because I don't see a lot of stuff on Facebook, but I know you have a huge following on Instagram. How do you see that your message is connecting and resonating with different populations? Who do you see that you're starting to connect with more?
Well, my ministry, as you said, is very diverse, and I've been fortunate because I started an international ministry before I was really even local. Many of the members that are a part of our ministry are from all over the world. Our first conference that we had physically, we had 700 delegates, and probably 500 of them were from different places of the diaspora, whether it was Puerto Rico, Africa, Russia, Jamaica. So we have been, tapping into the global, or we call it global, which is global and local market for a very long time. Didn't know that we would be on the cutting edge, that it would be something needful. It wasn't that something that we were intentionally trying to do. It's just that the global market, as it relates to worshipers, music it transcends boundaries and it transcends cultures. So as it relates to dance ministry and as it relates to song, we tapped into those different markets. As it relates to geographics, or I would say demographics, in terms of either more women, more men, we definitely see more women.
Okay.
And the age group varies. It's so funny when you guys are using the term older, because I think now I happen to fall into that older. Like, I'm having a hard time with the remote control.
Wow.
It took me a long time to figure out Zoom. So although we were cutting edge, and I had been, on a Ning platform, which gives us the ability to house 5,000 members, and religiously every month have services and do prayer calls and do all of these wonderful things that platform allows us to do. It still is a challenge not being able to see people, hug people. And as it relates to the older generation, touch is important. If a baby does not receive touch in a certain period of time, they'll experience crib death. So, although the media and the streaming and online is a wonderful experience, I think we're going to have to really, really, really find a way to reach that older group like myself and older, with people that are not even computer literate at all. My grandmother don't have a computer, and it is the devil. So we're going to have to find mechanisms to reach that group, because they still need spiritual guidance.
Well, let me pose this to you, Christina. Are you finding that you're missing that fellowship, that that in person, that touch, that feel, that sharing that space, sharing that energy? Do you feel like you're missing that more, or do you enjoy the convenience of the online service?
Oh no, absolutely. I miss it. I'm a hugger. I'm a toucher.
Okay.
Like I hug everybody. And so it's been very difficult during this time. Even one of the churches that I attend went back, and going back in the actual church was so weird because I couldn't hug anybody.
Wow.
And everybody knows, if you need a hug, go to this one. Christina will hug everybody. So it was definitely weird to not touch anybody, and I hadn't been back.
Wow.
Because I just have that urge. I feel like we need hugs. I know it's a lot of different statistics that show hugs do different things for us.
Okay.
Emotionally, mentally. And so I'm with Sabrina. We eventually will have to figure out a way to satisfy that human need.
Okay. Now, Pastor Melvin, let me pose this one to you. Do we need that human interaction? Because I know you are a big proponent for the online portion and a big proponent of the digital portion. We always talk about the presence of God and the energy that's brought into the room. Do we need that human physical interaction to have that presence, to have those interactions with God?
I would definitely say yes. I mean, because it's a God thing for us to have physical touch and physical interaction. I just think with this new normal, the way it's going to be present itself when we do regather and can, have that physical touch and the things that we're used to, I just think it's where God is just moving to kind of expand us a bit, kind of like in the book of Acts when they gathered and broke bread from house to house.
Okay.
Kind of more so in that small cell group type of strategy, but definitely God ordained for us to have that physical touch. And I think when we do get to a new normal, it'll be more that small group type of setting, and no more the mega where you got 10,000, 8,000 people in one church at a time.
Sabrina, same question.
There are several states now that are putting out legislation that makes it illegal for people to sing songs, for people to do different things that would create bodily touch or counterfeit flying or things of that nature.
Wow.
And so the government is mandating, the number of people that we can have in the house of God and the types of things that we can do. So although it's needed, we really have to be intentional about meeting the need and also, fulfilling the obligation to adhere to the law and public policy so that we don't put harm or danger on the parishioners. One of the things that I've seen pastors do now is they've increased their conference calls.
Okay.
And for the elderly, the seniors that are not on the computer, they still can pick up a phone and they can call, and they're, having these conference calls every week and making certain that those smaller cell groups are touching bases with that age group or with that demographic who is not computer literate. So pastors have to be really intentional. The other thing I just want to point out is that we're always talking about the members, but I'm also seeing pastors having a very difficult time preaching to empty seats.
Wow. Okay.
Psychologically, it is a burden also on the pastor who now has this financial constraint as relates to the brick and mortar, now has to think about being bivocational because they may not get the tithes that they used to get when they were able to emotionalize the people into a frenzy into giving. So now you don't have that, and the people don't have that money. What are you going to do for a living? So the pastor has all of these extra things that they have to think about on top of providing the spiritual need for the congregation. And I think it's going to take that time out. This time, if I could be honest, and I'll say this, and I'm going to sit down, even though y'all can't see me, I'm going to say this and sit down. Okay. We have to really use this time. I think that God is giving us a great time to be the church, to come outside of having the need to have this external power of God on the outside. And God is physically meeting us all where we are. Like we've had to take everything that we've known all of those years and use it on ourselves. We had to be our own pastors. And so I want to encourage, pastors and leaders to really begin to help with the spiritual maturity of those people who are now pastoring their homes and pastoring their local community and pastoring, the school system, because that's what it's going to take. I think not only is it a new shift in how we do church, it's a new shift in how the congregation leads itself and the intimacy that we have with God, because now I can't run to the church and expect the choir to make me cry. I got to get that on my own.
Okay. Wow. How you feel about it, Miss Christina?
I don't remember who said it, but one thing that came to my mind was energy.
Okay.
And that has been a big thing when we look online and we see that one or two people singing, and it's their energy that even though they're probably singing to an empty congregation, they still have that excitement as if we were there.
You feel like it's still translating.
So, right. It's still translate that Holy Spirit that gets us excited, that gets us emotional, that gets that emotion that we used to have when we were actually sitting there. So that has been something that I've seen that's been absolutely amazing. But then I've seen the opposite, where you could tell that they were singing to an empty congregation, and it was like, they bored, so am I. So it didn't move me. But when those people have overcome that fear of singing to an empty congregation, and they have that excitement, that Holy Spirit coming over them, that energy, like they give it their all for one person sitting in the congregation, it can definitely make us feel it through the computer.
I think this. I get what you're hitting on, because it's one of those type things when somebody's passionate about something, no matter what it is, it translates. You see it, whether it's on camera, whether it's pre-recorded, it translates and give you that emotional response. U.S. Senate candidate Miss Valencia Stovall, let me get you in on this conversation a little bit. I was gonna wait a little bit and just talk to you about your campaign, but tell me, are you going to church in physical, or are you doing it online?
Definitely online. I think listening to both the guests on the phone, and talking about the new normal that's happening in the church and faith-based overall. I think it is an opportunity that God is providing for us to do things different. Many times, the church was not like the church used to be. We're going out into the community, making sure the community needs are being met. And now, because of coronavirus, we're now forced as a church body to get out into the community.
Okay.
Even though we're looking at, of course, restrictions as far as social distancing, but the people are in more need now. These are the times when we talk about, having faith and where is God? Now as a church body, we're able to now things that we've sung about for many years, things that we've testified about for many years. Now we can put it into action because people are going through so much, and they now mentally, they're going through so much. And so this is a time when they need that spiritual help. And along with that, they need the physical help.
Oh, yeah.
So many people don't have food. So a lot of churches have gathered together to start feeding our families. School is getting ready to start. You have some churches thinking outside the box, offering a location for those children to come in order for the parents to be able to go to work, those who have to go to work. So there's a lot of things outside of that building that had hindered, so much with ministries.
Okay.
That people just start not believing in God and saying they're always in church. I don't see them doing anything. But now the shift has changed that caused you have to get out of that building and really minister to the people that are in need.
Now, Pastor Melvin, that poses a great question. What should the church be doing right now in the midst of the new normal, the COVID crisis and everything that we keep dealing with? What should the church be doing?
Well, definitely, as the senator just said, meeting the needs of the people. People need food. Churches are coming together, giving people food. Definitely, a lot of counseling is needed right now, because people psychologically are dealing with chronic stress, depression, and all those mental ills that people deal with. So the love of Christ at this time can be put on display by the church like never before. As I said, with feeding, counseling, praying with people, even groups just simply calling and checking on people and really just making sure that we're all okay and showing the compassion of Christ. It's a great time for the church to show the compassion of Christ in so many different ways. And I'll say this because I know it was said earlier about our elderly. Now, I have a real tender spot for our senior citizens. And it's a great time for us to be able to make sure that our senior citizens are doing well and meeting whatever needs they may have, especially with being at high risk during this coronavirus, making sure they got groceries and just being able to call them and check on them and pray with them and make sure that they're doing good. But I'm going to say this and I'll close. But what the church can't do is make this a event.
Okay.
The church is historically known at making things an event. We do it for a while. Then when things get better, we go back to the way we used to do things. So the compassion of Christ at this point is being shown, but we have to continue to show it. Be strategic, build committees, build plans and projects to be able to continue to show the love of Christ to every demographic in our society today.
Okay. Now, Sabrina, same question. What should the church be doing right now amongst the new normal?
That's definitely a heavy loaded question. I would say this. The first thing is the definition of ministry is to meet the need of the people. That's the definition. That is the phrase and the paraphrase is meeting those needs. And so whatever the needs are that people have, that's where the church should show up. I also want to say is Gandhi, who was a Buddhist, said, if you show me a Christian, I will follow them. And so we have to demonstrate Christ in the earth by meeting the needs that the people have. So I believe it was Melvin Green, I believe is his name, how he mentioned taking care of the mental disorders, providing spiritual counseling. So chaplains are really, really needed because we have a high unemployment rate. We have a high domestic violence rate. We have a high crime rate on top of COVID. We are in a place that we've never seen before. The church is in a position that we've never seen the plague. We heard about it in Moses. We heard about it. We heard them preach about it. But now we are truly living it. So this is a great opportunity for the church to fulfill the Great Commission. And Senator Valencia mentioned making sure that we're feeding the homeless, making sure that kids, you know, a lot of kids, the only meal that they have sometimes is in school. And if they're not going into the building, then how would they get in that lunch that they need? So the church has a great opportunity to provide that. The church has a great opportunity to just do a plethora of things. And that's a great question for each community leader, because it's no blanket answer. Every community has its own set of needs.
Wow.
And I believe that God is giving us an opportunity as clergy, as pastors, as leaders to sit down in each of our communities and say, what do people want? And you don't get that by just coming up with that answer on your own. You have to go to people and not offer them a tract, but you have to feed them and show them Jesus. You have to go to people and say, hey, what do you have? What can I provide for you? Clothes? Okay, what do you need? Job? Oh, you need to make sure your unemployment goes through. Okay, your PUA stops. What do you have need of? And then meet them at that place.
Wow. Christina?
Well, she said it all. I thought she was getting ready to give us the full sermon. Like, come on with it. Come on with it, Sabrina. But I definitely agree with both of them. This is a time where we have to meet people where they are. And they say that anywhere in school, you have to meet the kids where they are. And so I think this is the perfect opportunity to meet our communities where they are. So just like she said, we have to figure out, before we start just pouring things out, we have to actually figure out what's needed. So we can dish out a bunch of food or dish out a bunch of money, and then our mental health goes unnoticed. And so we definitely have to make sure we figure out what each community needs. And the other thing that we have to remember is that one community does not look like the other community. Mm-hmm. So while up north looks totally different down south, we have to make sure that we keep that in mind and not give out cookie cutter needs.
Wow.
So it's a great thing that she said. We do have to figure out the needs of our communities and then work on meeting them.
Wow. Christina Bronner. All right. Yes. Well, I want to say thank you so much to Pastor Melvin Green and Pastor Sabrina McKenzie for joining me on the line for this quick discussion that we're having about church in the new age. I definitely got to have both of you back and get you actually in studio so we can have an even longer discussion about this. How about it?
Sounds good.
Awesome. You got it.
Thank y'all so much for being a part of the show today.
All right. Yeah, everybody have a good one.
Guys.
All right. Christina, can I get you to hang around a few minutes?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, coming back right after this, we'll be speaking with U.S. Senate candidate Ms. Valencia Stovall about her candidacy for Johnny Isaac's seat. We'll be right back after this. This is KC Pride.
This is Kenyana.
And we asking you to tune in to ABJ Radio right here on the Real 1100 AM every Monday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Whether you're in your car, on your phones,
or at your job.
Tune in to ABJ Radio, the #1 rated business show right here on the Real 1100 AM. Monday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Hey.
Hey folks, Handsome Josh is here to reveal some big news to all the AM 1100 listeners.
I have an app.
That's right, you can now check out all your favorite programs right here on The Real with the Real 1100 app. Whether it's sports, entertainment, or lifestyle, the Real 1100 definitely has you covered.
So why don't you just tell me how much it's going to cost me?
And here's the best part. It's available in your Google Play or Apple App Store, and it's free to download.
Actually, you can count me in on this one.
So download the Real 1100 app today and stay in tune with The Real.
Woo! And we are back right here on the #1 rated business show, right here on the Real 1100 AM. It's Atlanta Business Journal Radio. Once again, we are paying people's bills. If you need help with one of your bills, please text Pay My Bill to 404-574-5134. Tonight, we have Miss Jacqueline Edmonds, so you can get ready to receive that cash app as soon as we get off air. And also, sponsored by Rashad Ritchie, the realest man in radio himself, Miss Charlotte Kelly. We got another $100 going out towards towards one of your bills. So please stay tuned with the Atlanta Business Journal Radio, the #1 rated business show. Please keep listening for more information on how we can help you guys and those bills that y'all got piling up, because I know so many of us is having some economic troubles right now. And to discuss some of these economic troubles, it is U.S. Senate candidate Miss Valencia Stovall. She is running for Johnny Isaac's seat as an independent. How you think you're gonna win in Georgia as an independent?
Well, as things are changing, nobody ever thought that this was going to happen with the pandemic.
That's true.
And a lot of changes have to be made. And so it's that time. As an independent candidate, I'm not affiliated with any particular party.
Okay.
I'm able to think independently.
Okay.
I do value the values of the Democratic Party, and same thing with the Republican Party. I've been successful as a legislator for the past 8 years, being able to work on both sides of the aisle to pass meaningful legislation. More specifically, in Clayton County, that's the district I currently serve.
Okay.
District 74, portions of Morrow, Lake City, Forest Park,
All right.
College Park, and Riverdale. But as a state representative, I have to be concerned about the entire state. And during my tenure as a representative, there was an issue that came up with Clayton County dealing with the jet fuel tax.
Okay.
So the FAA, which is Federal Aviation Administration, had a ruling that you could not collect sales tax, which is our E-SPLOS and SPLOS, from the airport unless you're able to spend it at the airport. Well, Atlanta owns Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, but 80% of the land sits in Clayton County.
Okay.
And so that became a dilemma. We were in a very unique situation. So that meant that our taxes were going to have to go up if we would not be able to figure out a way to recoup this money. So because I had been working across the aisle for the past 8 years, well, that time it was 6 years, I was able to go in and talk to then Governor Nathan Deal for us to be able to receive $45 million as a stopgap to our county. And this is a majority Democratic county. And so, which is usually unheard of up on the Republican control.
That's true.
But because of the work I've done over the years and trusted as a legislator that I'm going to fight for the people that I serve, I was able to come out with that to be as a stopgap until we were able to figure out a final solution for that situation.
Wow.
Another thing is in Clayton County, everybody knows the Atlanta State Farmers Market. That sits there, and it sits in Clayton County. And I was able, because of bipartisan work that I've done, chair a committee where we were able to actually change the name of along with get money in the budget for repairing the old 50-year-old buildings.
Okay.
But we were able to change the name that it now reads Atlanta Clayton County Terminal and Produce Market. So now the county actually gets the credit for Atlanta State Farmers Market, no longer that by itself.
Wow.
So being able to do those things, I've seen as a legislator that we've been putting bandages over issues on the state level when the actual solutions have to come from the federal government in Washington, D.C. And that's why I decided to take my 8 years of experience, even as a business owner, to Washington, D.C. to fight and be a champion for all of Georgia. Not because you're a Democrat, not because you're a Republican, but because you're a person and you have needs that need to be met. And that can be happening in Washington, D.C.
That's what I like to hear. Now you got a pretty big battle for the seat now, because you got Kelly Loeffler. She's running there. I mean, she running hard. I ain't seen some of them ads because they talking about Doug Collins so bad. And Doug Collins, both. And honestly, the way it's kind of being presented, it almost sounds like a two-man race. So how do you plan on getting in the mix with those two and really getting your name out there?
Well, one is by being here on your show.
That's right. The #1 rated business show right here on the Real 1100 AM. There you go.
And so it's spreading the word. Word of mouth has always done real good across the state. Even though you see those ads and you've seen in the past where big money has been spent.
Oh, yeah. Too much.
But at the end, the people decided that they want someone that's going to be just like them, that's going to take their needs and their concerns to heart and really going to fight for them. And that's one of the proven records I have that none of the other people that are in the race have that particular record of being able to fight and work both sides of the aisle.
Tell me this: what do you think about all the money in politics? Because this, once again, I think Clinton and Trump was well into the billions of dollars. you know, all this money that's being spent on these political races and this type of stuff, trying to get into power. And I think between Doug Collins and Kelly Loeffler, they've spent several millions of dollars on ads and everything else. What do you think about all this money in our politics? Don't you think it's time to get some of that out of our politics? Because it's starting to seem like a lot of this is being controlled by too many people with too much money that's just way too far away from the average American.
Yeah, you know, some states have it for local races where they have a cap. And money even actually comes from the state to help support those different candidates. Because what happens when you have a big money ticketed race like this U.S. Senate and even other statewide races, the average person who could do an excellent job never gets into the running because of that, because of the money issues, and because they see on the commercials or they hear on TV that, oh, this is the person you need to vote for, and they don't actually research those candidates. If they start researching those candidates, they'll really see that their alignment is not the same as theirs. And so it's always a battle when you consider to be the underdog or the undergirl in this case, you know, for that. But I know that my record speaks for itself, and the biggest challenge is getting the information out to the people once they hear what I stand for on economic opportunities. I think education is definitely going to need reforming as it's in this, as it's moving forward now.
Let's talk about education, because that seems to be one of the biggest hot button issues right now. Do kids go back to school? Do they stay at home, online, in class? I know my kids are in Paulding County, and we did send them back to school. One of them goes to Hal Hutchins, the other one goes to Austin Middle. And I got to be honest with you, number one, parents is not allowed in school, and we ain't had no little pictures surface nowhere, thank God, because I don't know what we might see. But what is your take? Can we go back to school? But my thing is this: as parents, number one, parents got to work, and it takes a lot to do online learning, especially with kids that have not been raised in online learning and online type education. They need that constant guidance. They need somebody over their shoulder. Hey, you got to get this done. You need to be in class. You need to be on this thing. So what is your stance on this whole education system right now as it stands?
Well, definitely there are some schools that had already been doing virtual learning even before COVID-19, and they didn't miss a beat. And that's one of the deficits that I say in our education system here in Georgia, when it came down to innovative thinking and really pushing our school districts to do more of that virtual. There was a lot of pushback, but now they've thrown into it. I think that it's not time for the students to be able to go back in person now. I think the push to keep saying that we got to educate the kids, there are other ways that we can educate our kids, even looking at what's going on with the pandemic. There's education in everything that we do. And yes, parents do have to go back to work. And that's where we as a community have to step up. I talked earlier about our faith-based community, being able to help in supporting that. Your next door neighbor might serve as a surrogate parent. Say if you have some older kids that can stay in the house without killing each other, you know, that what's wrong with that neighbor checking? Hey, did you do your online learning? You know, did you finish your homework? What was your issues today? At least having someone to be able to monitor. And I think this is the time for us to stand up together as a community to help support. You have some teachers who decided not to go back, and they're looking at doing micro schools where they're looking at, hey, I'll take 10 students and I'll teach them myself. You have early learning center, childcare centers who stepped up. And what they're doing is, because they have those kids' siblings, they're now offering a space or location for the older kids to come and sit, do their virtual, and they're even supporting those parents that way. I think the biggest issue is always going to come back to the money. Right now in the state of Georgia, we don't have a per pupil funding formula that's conducive to where we are now in 2020. It needs to be revamped and changed, because that would have given a lot more flexibility to parents. If I know that I have control over that money, if my child was allocated $10,000, then I know that if I had a teacher that said, well, hey, I'm doing this, I can allocate a portion of money there. If my child needs tutoring, I can be able to do all those things, that flexibility that needs to happen. So I think rushing back is too soon for that right now.
What's your thoughts on it, Christina?
So this is my 7th year being an educator.
Okay.
So I can't
Congratulations.
speak to this. So it's a really a tough, sticky subject because on one hand, we want to make sure that we keep the kids safe. But on the other hand, those social skills that they need are very, very important. Plus, we have a lot of, especially in our demographics, in our community, we have a lot of kids whose parents can't do the homeschool.
Okay.
The parents can't teach. The parents have to work to support them. And so it's you have both ends. So it's a really, really tough subject, but we are starting virtual. And just like with the online church, with everything else, all of the businesses that have gone virtually, it's an excitement, and it can be done in a very wonderful, exciting, engaging way.
Okay.
Where we keep the kids engaged. Now, how long is that going to work? I don't know.
Now, you said this is your 7th year being an educator. Are you back in the classroom, or are you doing it virtually?
So the teachers have returned, and we return in the classroom so that we can give the students that feel of seeing the classroom.
Okay.
But we have gone virtual until the numbers reach a certain level, a certain percent. And so I don't know why we couldn't do it from home, but it works. It works. So we're still in our individual classrooms to just give the students that feel of being in class, but it is virtual. So the problem with this, or the struggle, or the challenge, let's say it's going to be a challenge, is those parents being able to keep up with the virtual learning.
Okay.
Because I think that virtual learning is not just about getting on the computer. It's about somebody actually being there to help that discipline of getting up at a certain time, of when you don't have all the answers, ask a question. So it's definitely a challenge in the educational world, but it's so torn on both sides that you have to think about the safety, but you also have to think about the parents, but you also have to think about the students and teachers, everybody's mental state, everybody's social capabilities. So it's a very tough decision.
Oh yeah, I know we wrestled with it a long time trying to figure out, and I'm still. We might pull them out. Now, you mentioned a per student budget. What would that normally? What does that look like in Georgia now, and what should it look like?
It depends on the demographics where you are,
Okay.
and that's the other part. That is unfair funding across the board. Even though as a state we kick in $5 million outside of what the local school district collects in local taxes. So about 60% of your property taxes and business taxes goes to the local school system.
Okay.
Another portion the state kicks in, which is another part of your taxes on the state level. And then we have an equalization where those schools or those communities that don't have a certain amount of money as far as property taxes, then the state kicks in additional money to be able to kind of equal them out, but they're never equal when it comes to that. And so it's a very, very confusing QBE formula. No, it's maybe 6 people out of the state that may understand how the whole formula works. I mean, since I've been 9, I've been trying to figure it all out. But even with that, I think that opens up, more opportunities for our young people. I think that, when our students graduate, they should graduate with a certification in a trade because it allows them to go right into the workforce if they choose to do so. That means that they automatically earn higher than minimum wage, which is a big issue that we hear about all the time. And also to cut back on student debt that so many of our students are facing. And I know that you're the #1 talk show with businesses.
Yes.
And so one of my focus is small business, which suffered a whole lot during the COVID-19. I think that we need to look at reclassifying the classification for small business. Right now it's 500 employees or less. What happened to those small businesses that are 100 employees or less, 50? Even 2,
I know a couple of them solo,
right?
Just one employee.
They are called into that whole thing. And when the SBA opened up for those EIDL loan, advanced loans, and PPP loans, all of those, our smaller businesses who really are the ones that are hiring local people were the ones that didn't get a chance to take advantage of that opportunity. And even when SBA brought in the small business development centers, I think they brought them in too late.
Okay.
Because they're there to support. They're paid for by SBA, and they should have been brought in from the very beginning to especially help those small businesses with that whole loan process, which they were not able to do. And also research and development. We definitely need to look at how do we push more small business people to get into small businesses, but we have to have the support there. The finances have to be right. You know, when we as a country were able to use fintech companies to be able to give out loans, that's never heard of. You know, so why now we have the jackets out the box in healthcare, it's out the box in how we deliver in business, how we deliver in education. We don't need to go back. What we should be doing as a U.S. Senator, what I'll be looking at is what are those things that work during the most crucial crisis that we've had in the United States and even nationally, and then how do we continue on that path and not go back to, you know, things that were comfortable for us in the beginning.
So if elected, what would you do to help us get past this COVID situation that we're dealing with and help us get back to a normal society, a normal economy, and a normal school year?
Well, I don't think we're going to ever get back to life how we've known it. And like I talked about earlier, so many opportunities, even through the tragedy that we've seen, there's so many opportunities. So making sure that people have access and awareness, I call it the double A battery. Because when you have awareness about what's available on the federal level, what's available on the state level, how they can work together, our government is not efficient because they're not working collaboratively together. And we see that what's really happened during the crisis. So being able to have
Trump
awareness.
He's doing better without y'all help, though. He said he dropping executive orders on y'all. Y'all don't want to help him.
That could
y'all
end
don't
up
want to do
being
y'all
challenged.
part.
Yeah, they could end up being challenged. And so you have people hyped up thinking they're going to have this additional money when they're not, especially you saying that the local government has to pay 25% of it. The local government said we need more money to be able to sustain where we are. So access and awareness are the two key factors. And I believe that even in our communities, when you don't know about something that's aware, you don't know what to ask for. Wow. And so those are the things I'll be put for. And of course, stewardship. We're in America where we can't build and do everything ourselves. You have to reach outside of our country to be able to do it. I don't think it takes away from those jobs for Americans. I think it actually enhances it as well.
As a United States Senator, what are your thoughts on China and this whole I don't know if he's trying to actually start a war with China. I don't know what his goals are with China other than pissing some folks off, but or changing the news cycle rather. But what are your thoughts on China right now?
I think that China is still a viable part of a partnership that we need here in the U.S. I don't think it needs to be as major as it was. As a state representative, I knew that I serve on about 5 committees. One of them is small business development. And every 2 years, we do our renewal of legislation training. I found out that the state of Georgia does not have a business located on the whole continent of Africa.
Wow.
They did in 2017. And the importance of that is when you look at the work that we exports and imports we're doing from Canada, China, Mexico, and other areas, we have a focus and we're actually going out Germany. We've had some companies that have now opened up locations here in Georgia. So why not on the continent of Africa where all the major resources are and being able to open that that avenue up to even be able to do more business for that. So I don't think China needs to continue to be the major player, because what happens is, just like we're seeing now, they've been banned, and then look what happened. We are almost in need of all those things that China had been producing. And had we been able to spread it out, we would not have been so dependent on one particular country.
30 seconds left. Give me your appeal for Senate.
Well, I'm State Representative Valencia Stovall, candidate for U.S. Senate in November the 3rd special election. I will continue to work as I've done in the past 8 years to be a champion for you. I'm running as an independent because I believe I could be a champion for all of Georgia. Don't forget to make sure that you register to vote for the November the 3rd election. Go to my website, gostovall.com. Also, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Valencia Stovall. Every Friday, I do a Talking with Stovall live on my Facebook, and we handle some very important issues that you are facing right now. If you want a fighter, Stovall, that's all.
All right, Stovall, that's all. Christina Bronner, thank you so much for joining us. Miss Valencia Stovall, thank you so much for joining us right here on the #1 rated business show. Once again, text "Pay My Bill" to 404-574-5134. Y'all just gonna have to rewind that. Charlotte Kelly, Jacqueline Edmonds, I promise y'all $100 is on its way as soon as I can get off air, courtesy of Rashad Ritchie and courtesy of the #1 rated business show. Thank y'all so much, and we are out.